So let's talk about Dharma. We're not just going to look at it as some ancient philosophy. We're going to treat it as a super practical toolkit for dealing with something we all share, the human condition. And it all starts with a simple but really profound act of self-honesty.
This idea right here from the Dhammapada, it really sets the stage perfectly. See, Dharma isn't about pretending we have all the answers. It's about having the courage to admit, hey, maybe I'm the fool here. And that admission, that's the very first step toward actual wisdom. It's the real starting point.
So where does this whole journey even begin? Well, the Buddha's teaching doesn't kick off with some complex creed or a bunch of rules you have to follow. Nope, it starts with a diagnosis. A really clear, unflinching look at a problem that every single person, everywhere, recognizes in their own life.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. The world is full of suffering. Sounds pretty pessimistic, right? But it's actually the complete opposite. Think about it like a doctor. You can't find a cure for an illness until you know exactly what the problem is. Acknowledging that life has its challenges, its friction, from the big heartbreaks to the tiny little annoyances, that isn't about being negative. It's the absolute necessary first step to finding some relief.
So the Buddha laid out these 4 truths almost like a medical diagnosis, a framework you still see today. First, what's the symptom? Well, suffering is a part of life. Second, what's the cause? It's our own craving, our attachments. Third, what's the prognosis? And this is the good news. A cure is possible. A state of non-suffering is totally achievable. And fourth, the prescription, the Noble Eightfold Path. It's just a beautifully logical and empowering way to look at it.
Okay, so we've got the diagnosis, but how does this whole system of suffering and release actually work? What's the engine running under the hood? Well, the answer is in this really fundamental principle, the law of causation.
Now, this is a pretty radical idea when you think about it. What it's saying is that nothing, not a tree, not an emotion, not even the idea of you, exists all by itself. Everything is connected, the result of this huge web of causes and conditions. And because those conditions are always changing, everything is temporary. Nothing is set in stone.
This metaphor of a net is just perfect. We tend to think of our problems, our joys, even our own sense of self as these separate, isolated things. But they're not. They're all just knots in this massive, interconnected net. And that's exactly why trying to fix one problem by itself almost never works, right? You have to understand how the whole system is connected.
So, if suffering has a cause, and reality is this big, interconnected flow, how are we supposed to live? How do we navigate all this to find some peace? Well, let's move on to the prescription, because this is the practical path.
The Buddha taught that the way to enlightenment is all about balance. He warned about 2 big dead ends. On one side, you have the extreme of just chasing after every pleasure, every desire, which honestly just makes you want more. And on the other side, you've got extreme self-denial, punishing yourself, which just weakens your mind and body. Both of them are just different kinds of suffering.
I love this image. It's so clear. We're the log, enlightenment is the sea. The goal is just to let the river of life carry us there. But what happens? We get stuck. We either get snagged on the riverbank of self-indulgence, or we get totally waterlogged by self-torture and sink. The whole key is to find that middle current and just keep floating.
And that middle course, that perfect current in the river, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. This is the hands-on, practical prescription. It covers every part of life, and you can kind of group it into 3 main things. First is wisdom. That's about seeing the world clearly, right view and right thought. Second is how you act, ethical conduct, how we talk, what we do. And third is mental discipline, how we train our minds through focus and mindfulness. It's not a list of rules to obey, it's a set of skills you build for a more balanced life.
Okay, this all brings us to the final and maybe the most profound and hopeful idea in this entire teaching. After we understand the problem, the mechanics of reality, and the path, we get to discover the ultimate potential that is sitting inside every single one of us. Just think about that story for a second. We're like that man, aren't we? We wander through life feeling kind of lost, incomplete, struggling, completely unaware that we're carrying this priceless, perfect treasure inside our own nature the entire time. So here's the absolute game changer. Enlightenment isn't something you go out and get. It's not something you have to build from nothing. It's something you already have. The whole path of Dharma is just the process of clearing away all the dust of ignorance and desire, to uncover this pure, true nature that has been there all along.
It's just like a diamond. Our bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, that's all just the dust and mud covering it up.
And it doesn't matter how thick those layers of greed or anger or confusion get, the diamond underneath is still there, perfect and unbreakable. The potential to wake up isn't something you create, it's something you can always come back to. And that leaves us with the big question, the one that the teaching of Dharma really asks us to think about for ourselves. If this radiant, peaceful nature is already in us, just waiting, what's obscuring it? What are the habits, the beliefs, the illusions that we're ready to start clearing away?